Did you know that neediness is the #1 killer of attraction in relationships? It's true. When you're constantly seeking validation and reassurance from your partner, it puts incredible amounts of pressure on them. And over time, that pressure builds up and starts to erode the very foundation of your relationship. But there is hope. There are ways to break free from the cycle of neediness and build a healthy, thriving relationship. Think of your relationship as a kind of garden. Neediness is like a weed that peeks up through the soil. It may start small, but it quickly spreads, choking out the flowers, turning your relationship into a tangled mess of insecurity and desperation. But by understanding the root causes of neediness and implementing simple strategies, you can nip this relationship killer in the bud and cultivate a deeper, more fulfilling connection with your partner. So let's jump in. So why do we feel needy in relationships? Well, it turns out that there is a deep-rooted psychological basis for this behavior that dates all the way back to our evolutionary history. You see, back in the day when we were living in caves and hunting mammoths and stuff, being clingy was actually a survival mechanism. Our ancestors needed to stick close to their tribe for protection and resources. So anxiety and attachment were key to making it through another day in a harsh world. But fast forward to modern times, and those same instincts are still hardwired in our brains. But instead of clinging to our tribe, we cling to our romantic partners. And that primal anxiety morphs into behaviors like constantly calling and messaging our partner, stalking their social media, and feeling threatened when they hang out with their friends. Our brains are stuck in caveman mode, even though the threats we face are now more emotional than physical. We fear abandonment and rejection just as much as our ancestors feared saber-toothed tigers and woolly mammoths. If you imagine it like this, your neediness is like an alarm that's hypersensitive and it's going off at the slightest hint of perceived danger in your relationship. The problem is that constant alarm can push your partner away. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more that you cling, the more that they pull back, which only makes you cling harder. But once you understand the psychological roots of neediness, you can start to rewire those caveman instincts. Now, this is not about suppressing your emotions, but just rather learning to recognize and manage those emotions in a healthier way. It just takes work and self-awareness, but it's totally possible. So if you find your inner caveman getting a little too sensitive, with a little reprogramming, you can let go of those outdated fears and build a relationship that's based on trust, independence, and genuine connection. How do you spot the signs in yourself that you might be a little bit too attached? Because let's face it, sometimes it's hard to see our own behavior objectively, especially when we're in the deep throes of relationship anxiety. One huge red flag is constantly seeking reassurance from your partner. Do you find yourself asking them over and over again if they still love you, if you're good enough, if they're going to leave you? You're stuck in a loop of self-doubt, and no matter how many times they tell you everything's fine, it never quite sinks in. Another sign is feeling threatened by your partner's friends or co-workers, especially those of the opposite sex. Suddenly, every innocent interaction becomes a potential threat to your relationship. You might find yourself obsessively checking their social media, looking for clues that they're being unfaithful or losing interest in you. Maybe you're the type who needs to be in constant contact with your partner, blowing up their phone with texts and calls throughout the day. And if they don't respond immediately, your mind goes to worst case scenarios. They must be cheating, or they've suddenly decided to ghost you. But here's the thing though, all of these behaviors are rooted in a deep fear of abandonment and rejection. It's like your brain is constantly scanning for any hint that your partner might leave, and when it spots something, even if it's totally innocuous, it goes onto full-on panic mode. But constantly seeking external validation from your partner is like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in it. No matter how much they reassure you, it's never going to be enough. The hole in the bucket is your own self-worth, and until you patch that up, you'll always be chasing after more and more. So how do you know if you're being too needy? It starts with honest self-reflection. Take a step back and observe your own behavior as if you were an outsider looking in. If your friend was doing the things that you were doing, would you think it was healthy? Would you think that it's needy? Next, you can ask yourself some questions. Do I feel secure in my relationship, or am I always waiting for the other shoe to drop? Can I spend time apart from my partner without feeling anxious or abandoned? Do I trust my partner, or do I find myself constantly checking up on them? Am I able to maintain my own hobbies, friendships, and sense of self outside of my relationship? By answering these questions honestly can be tough. But here's the thing, recognizing that there's a problem is the first step to fixing it. It's like they say, admitting that you have a problem is half the battle. And I get it. Facing our own insecurities is scary. Facing up to your fears is a frightening prospect. It's much easier to cling to our partner and hope that they'll make everything okay. But at the end of the day, that's not fair to them or to ourselves. We deserve to feel secure and worthy in our own right, not just as an extension of someone else. So if you're nodding along to these signs of neediness, don't beat yourself up. You're not alone. And there are concrete steps that you can take to break free from this cycle of clinginess. And it starts with being brutally honest with yourself, even when it's uncomfortable, because only then can you start to build a foundation of self-love and inner security that will serve you and your partner, not just in your relationship, but in all areas of life. But then that leaves the question, how exactly do you go about doing that? Let's dive into some practical tips and strategies for overcoming that neediness and cultivating a healthier, more interdependent relationship dynamic. And if you want to learn more tools in order to recognize and deal with these thoughts and feelings in order to better your relationship, then I invite you to join me on my free relationship bootcamp, where I'll show you the tools and strategies in order to build yourself a thriving relationship from the ground up. It's free, so simply click on the link in the description to take the next step. Let's be honest, it's one thing to know that you're being clingy, it's another thing entirely to actually change those deeply ingrained behaviors. First up is invest in your growth. One of the most powerful things that you can do is shift your focus inward. Instead of constantly seeking validation and reassurance from your partner, start investing in your own personal growth and self-discovery. Take up a new hobby, sign up for a class, or set some goals for yourself that have nothing to do with the relationship. When you do have a strong sense of self and feel fulfilled in other areas of your life, you're less likely to put all of your emotional eggs in one basket, so to speak. It's kind of diversifying your portfolio. Sure, your relationship is important, but it shouldn't be the only thing that defines you. So another key strategy is to cultivate a support network outside of your relationship. Spend quality time with friends and family and nurture those connections as well. And don't be afraid to lean on them when you're feeling anxious or insecure. Sometimes just talking through your fears with someone who isn't your partner can provide a much needed perspective shift. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but won't my partner feel neglected if I'm off doing my own thing all the time? And that's where communication comes in. Have an open, honest conversation with your partner about your needs, about your goals, and about what you're trying to do. Let them know that you're working on being more independent, but that doesn't mean that you love them any less. In fact, by taking responsibility for your own emotional well-being, you're actually creating a space for a healthier, more balanced relationship dynamic. It's like the old saying goes, you can't pour from an empty cup. When you feel grounded and secure in yourself, you have so much more to give to your partner. But what about those moments when neediness rears its ugly head, despite your best efforts? Well, that's where the concept of emotional resilience comes in. Basically, this is about being able to sit with discomfort, uncomfortable feelings like anxiety or loneliness, without immediately trying to get rid of them. I like to think of it as exposure therapy for emotions. Have you ever heard of exposure therapy? So just like how someone with a fear of spiders might gradually expose themselves to increasingly scary arachnids, you can practice tolerating unmet feelings without going into full-on panic mode. So start small. Maybe it's resisting the urge to text your partner for an hour, even if you're feeling anxious. Or maybe it's going to a social event solo, even though you'd rather have your partner by your side. The more that you practice sitting with that discomfort, getting used to that discomfort, the more resilient you become. Learning to tolerate these unmet feelings is actually a skill that will serve you in all areas of your life, not just your relationship. It's developing a deeper trust in yourself and your ability to handle whatever comes your way, whether you're with your partner or not. So the next time you feel that familiar of neediness, take a deep breath and remember that you've got this. You are whole and worthy regardless of how much attention your partner is giving you in that moment. And with practice and patience, you can transform that knee-jerk clinginess into a more grounded, self-assured way of being. Ultimately, boosting your self-confidence and emotional resilience is an inside job. No amount of reassurance or attention from your partner can give you the unshakable self-worth that comes from within. And it comes from learning to keep your own needs as a priority and cultivating a life that lights you up. You'll start to trust in your own resilience and stop fearing rejection. And if you do want a deeper dive into rejection sensitivity, then I will leave you with this video right here. I'll see you over there.